thanks for coming in. Hope you're all safe and well. Start of another week. I actually thought the day was Tuesday, but I don't know why. I just had a Tuesday feeling. It's actually Monday. But anyway, tonight we are joined by a lady that I contacted some time ago, shall we say. And she forgot all about me. I don't know what to tell you. We're joined by Mackenzie from Shadow of York. Shadow of York is correct me if I'm wrong, Mackenzie, we do tours in town of York. Is York a city or a town?
It's a city.
It's classed as a
city. I mean, us locals call it pop in the town, but it's a city. York is a small city, yes.
Right, because sometimes you get places and so it's a city, say no, it's a town and vice versa. You never actually know. But Mackenzie's words for Shadow of York. So thanks for coming in. Finally, Mackenzie, I won't keep rubbing it in, I promise. How are you, dear?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. See, I thought it was Tuesday. It turns out it was Monday. So, tell us a wee bit about. I'm not the only one. Laura's daughter actually thought it was Tuesday as well, so I'm not the only one that's lost his basket. Do you know what I'm saying? So, tell us a wee bit about Shadows of York and how it all started, etc. The usual stuff.
Oh, the usual, yeah. So actually, the ghost walking side happened by accident. So the very short version is back in 2011, I got asked by a friend to work in a scare attraction, and I didn't know what one of them was, but I did used to do some acting work, and I thought, oh, that's different, isn't it? And there was a house that was known as number 35 Stonegate haunted, and it was a haunted house attraction, but for one weekend only, they hired actors, and that I was one of the actors. But I had loads of little experiences in that spooky house, and I thought, oh, this is quite, this is different. And then from then I went on to continue doing scare acting. But then one day there was an advert in the paper or online or wherever for a ghost walk guide in York, and so I actually got the job working for someone else. But after a couple of years or more, he weren't that good at communicating when I was working and stuff. And in the end, I just got sick of it and thought, you know what, I could do this better myself. And so I did. I started in 2015. So I'm actually in my 10th year of running this tour now. And selecting a name for it, I went through loads of different ideas and names, but ultimately Shadows of York seemed to fit because I wanted to tell true horrible history as well as the ghost stories and sort of give a background to the ghost stories, and forever researching. I mean, the tour's very different from what it was when it first started, because I kept on learning new stories or learning new bits behind the stories and started to debunk some and reinforce others. And so that's basically it. And so the tour is a mixture of horrible history and ghost stories. We take you all around the outside of the city as well as the inside. And in the last 3 years, I've grown. I've got 2 guides that work for me now, so that's nice. Takes a bit of pressure off. And obviously during lockdown, I did the lives, and that's when it really took off in the regards of becoming more popular and more known. So that was nice.
As our wee island, she runs Phantom Seekers Paranormal. I always fancied doing that. But I mean, a couple of things you said there, Mackenzie. I mean, one, you said choosing a name. I think everybody's the same when they first start out. We started just over 5 years ago, and we'd never done it before. The whole sort of Facebook group and stuff. And you try to come up with a name that's original, but you don't want to sound, like a sort of like a balloon, basically. But you want something that's maybe catchy, sort of thing. We can be Corsair, And then, as you say, you're doing it yourself. You do evolve. You've been doing this 10 years, we've been doing it 5. I mean, our first lives were a total mess, basically. But as time goes on, you sort of, I think we tried to copy people too much, because we'd watched stuff and one thing, well, that's the way to do it. But did you find that, through the 10 years, you kind of just found your own kind of path?
Yeah, I mean, it was strange because even though I'd worked for 2 or 3 years on it, occasionally it wasn't permanent for the other guide 3 years previous to my own tour. obviously I wanted to tell it my own way, and so it was a little bit, I won't say it was sticky, but I was a bit nervous when I first started it, thinking, am I doing this right? Even though, of course, I knew I was doing it right, but there was a bit of nerves. But then, I eventually got used to it, and I found that I really loved taking, because I started out as just private bookings only, and I used to get a lot of couples, and the couples just loved hearing about the darker side and all the other little bits that you just don't get on any other tour.
Mhm.
I mean, there might be some tours now that tell more of the history, and I'm not going to say they're copying because everybody's going to do something similar, but it is interesting how the tours have now changed, particularly since 2020, when we're all doing lives, because people are starting to go, you know what, people do want more than just, oh, this happened here and spooky, spooky.
Aye.
People really want to know more now. Um, so yeah, that's
No,
that.
I know Sarah and I done a tour. We went on a tour in Edinburgh. I don't know, about 3, 4 years ago, maybe more than that. And I mean, no offence to them, but you could tell that this tour was kind of scripted,
Yeah.
and well, this happened to, as you say, this happened here, this happened to a guy get his ears nailed to a bit of wood there, and you want to know why. I love blood and
Yeah.
guts. I like to see people losing limbs and stuff like that. You know, it's just the way I like I'm a big horror film fan, but I like films like Saw and stuff where you see people actually losing parts of their body and stuff.
Oh
You know.
God, I bet you'd have loved an execution back then, eh?
Oh, I'll be the first to admit. I would have the front. I know people used to kind of camp out overnight. I would have been there for about a week waiting. With front seat kind of thing. You know.
There's going to be a hanging. We're going there. Going to
Oh,
get front row.
going to be a good humdrum and quarter in the morning, son. We're right. Let's go. Grab the basket. We're off. It's
Oh
just.
dear. Oh
I mean,
dear.
I'm not a serial killer or anything like that. I don't get bodies planted all over Glasgow or anything like that. But I always got a question for you. I'm going to come to you say, take your knitting, Scott. I don't know. That's Laura that knits, not me. But just, I mean, executions were a big. I'll get you a question if you say, Eileen. Executions were a big thing back then.
They were. Yeah.
And it was like a day out. They take the family, you take the kids. Can you imagine saying your 9-year-old today, right? Tomorrow we're going to see a guy get his head chopped off. Oh, can't
Yeah.
wait, Dad.
Yeah.
Yes, you're good. Can we get ice cream after it? Can we go to McDonald's before it?
Yeah, I would say that.
I would tell her 9-year-old, she's kind of, I think she's broken actually. Eileen's met her as well. She loves all this ghost stuff, and she does. She started doing me podcasts on it. She's one next Monday, but she's done a few investigations and stuff like that. But it was a big event, and there would have been people that loved it. I know I would have loved it. Oh, I definitely not. But it's just. I'm from Glasgow. What do you expect? You know what I mean? Eileen's asking, is the Golden Fleece worth a visit? I was going to ask you about the Golden Fleece because it's an interesting story you told about that. But Eileen's asking, is it worth a visit?
Yeah. So the Golden Fleece, yes, it is worth a visit. It's very quirky inside. You go in and there's loads of bits on the wall that tell you the ghost stories, whether they're accurate or not is just, they're there. And not just about the Golden Fleece, but around York. You go down a corridor and there's all these little death masks on the walls of people that they've either used to work there or a couple of tour guides in York. And then the back bar area, they've got a couple of skeletons that sit at the bar and things, or it's just quirky. It's nice. And if you like folk music or just a nice atmosphere, then you go there. If you're going for ghosty stuff, then yes, it is worth staying in a hotel room. But I say this to everyone, regardless of how haunted or reputedly haunted a place is. Remember, ghosts aren't performing monkeys. You're not always going to get something happen. So always go in with the hope that something happens, but don't make it the sole reason that you go there for. You go in there for the experience and to say that you've been in the Golden Fleece and that you're going to enjoy the experience of being in this very old and beautiful building. So, anything that happens is a nice bonus.
Just jumping back to the tour, as you say, the blood. I love the blood and guts, but I mean, some of the tours, the tour we were on shows you got the Royal Mail. I don't know if you've been to Edinburgh or not.
I have once, yes, and I went in the Edinburgh Vaults, and I went into the castle, and I also did the real Mary King's Close tour. That was very good. Yeah, I really enjoyed all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
found
the
with
Ghost Bus.
I found with the Edinburgh tour, they say so and so was executed here, but I want to know how he was executed, what happened,
Yes.
why he was
I tell people
executed,
that bit if I do an execution bit.
and how many blows of the accident take to finally finish it. It's the
Yeah.
same as actually the Royal Mail. They'll tell you about, the castle, which is beautiful. We've been in Edinburgh tons. Edinburgh's a beautiful city. We love it. But very few people tell you the gory bits. They used to roll people down the Royal Mail in a barrel with spikes in it and stuff like that. They don't tell you that stuff.
No.
And as you say, after 2020, I think people were wanting more kind of blood and gut. They were wanting a decent tour. They were wanting to know, the gory side of it, because there is a gory side of it, and to me, you can't just ignore it.
No, you can't.
Because maybe a lot of these people that were executed were innocent as well.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, it really is horrible when you think about that. Yeah.
I was saying Edinburgh tours and Mary King's very commercialised and tourist led, okay, but not terribly. I've not done Mary King's Close. We did the one with the Blair Street Vaults and stuff like that. It was fantastic. I don't want to put anybody doing what they do, but you could tell it was all scripted and right, we'll move on here, we'll move on there, we'll go here, we'll go there. You kind of bang, bang, bang. But you get it's if you're getting herded round the place. But the Golden Fleece, the Airman story.
Yes.
I've got a wee fly in here. I'm not waving to you, honest. That's a wee fly. I found that one really interesting because what you said earlier on about debunking. He says he's researched the story and it turned out that the person that thought it was didn't actually exist. Is that right?
So I'll tell you about the airman. First of all, when I did my research, because even today, if you type into the internet, "who is the real airman," it won't come up. So I wasn't aware that a chap called Mike had found him 2 years previous to the time that I had, and he published it in something called Haunted Magazine. But unless you buy the magazine, you don't know, and I don't buy the magazine. I'm honest, I'm dyslexic. I don't read unless I'm researching because I hate it. So there we are. But I don't live, as much as I love paranormal, I don't live and breathe it and buy every magazine or anything like that. So Haunted Magazine isn't the great. Well, it's a good magazine, but when you go online, there's an awful lot of pop-ups and things that come up. So I don't really go into it. But anyway, yeah, he found it 2 years previous to me, which I didn't know until I went live about it. But basically last year in June, because I'd spent years searching for this man, but I didn't know really how to find him. I didn't really know how to work Ancestry as such. And I've been using Ancestry in the last year and a bit now. And even then, when you typed in Jeff Monroe or Jeffrey, or if you watched all the other episodes of, say, like Most Haunted, when Derek Okora was saying his name was Jed Harkin, I tried Jed Harkin, nothing like that came up. All these other names. And I thought, I don't think he's called Jeff Monroe, but I've no idea what he's called. And I was going to stop telling the story because I thought this is garbage. He didn't fall out of that front window. He didn't crash land through the roof. There's all kinds of weird and wonderful stories about this. And I thought it doesn't ring true to me about his wife leaving him or cheating him, as was told by some landlord to Richard Felix in one of his DVDs, so there's lots of different things. But I have a friend who I was researching with called Rachel, and she said to me her father remembers it happening because her father was quite old, and she's quite a bit older than me, is Rachel. And she said to me, he remembers that the airman went through a glass roof. And I thought, a glass roof? Well, I'm looking at the Golden Fleece going, where's this glass roof? It can't be there. But okay, I'll continue to tell the story then if you say it's real. And the story or the name of Jeff Monroe came about in the 1990s in a newspaper. And basically, I believe an American lady came to stay at the Golden Fleece, and she said, I've seen this ghost. It looks like an officer. And there was always this story known about an officer, but we didn't know who it was. So she then went home, apparently had a dream about him, or woke up and claimed that she'd written in her sleep his name, Jeff Monroe, and that he was Canadian and he died falling out the window. And she rang the Golden Fleece, told him what had happened, and so it stuck. That was his story, which was, of course, incorrect. Not to be wrong to the person, obviously, who wrote it down or anything, but yeah, the reason why he's about is because lots of people have complained of seeing this airman. So over the last several years, I keep on doing searches online. I keep trying to type it in. And then a couple of years back, I discovered the newspaper archive. But even when I kept on typing in Fall from the Window, Jeff Monroe, Golden Fleece, nothing would happen. And then literally in June last year, I thought, hang on a minute. In that time, it wasn't called the Golden Fleece. It was called the Fleece Inn, or the Fleece Inn Hotel. And I thought, okay, maybe these newspaper archives are really fickle. You've got to really type in the right thing and this, that, and the other. It seems to be for me anyway. So I typed in that, and I typed in Fell from the Window, and there it was, the one and only article about an airman who fell out the window. His name was Gerard Tierney. He was 35 years old, and he came from Hayleys, Oldham, Lancashire. And I was ecstatic. And I told a genealogist friend of mine, because I asked her to sort of help look for him, and she couldn't find him and stuff. And she says, you need to hold on to this. This is gold dust. I said, I know. So come October, decided to reveal it then. And then it turned out that other people had found out about him before. But like, how have I not known about this if other people have found out? Anyway, I went to our library because now I've got a name and I could find the coroner's report, and that told me everything I needed to know, and that he fell out of a window of a room. We're still a little bit unsure as to which room, but I do believe it's still the Minster Suite. But he fell out of a window, he plummeted through a shaft, which is sort of between the buildings that you can't see from outside. And he went through a glass roof, exactly like what my friend said that her father remembered. And he broke his back on the ground below. I don't believe he regained consciousness ever, but he died 2 days later in York's Military Hospital in Fulford, York. He's buried back in Greenacres or Greenacres Cemetery in Oldham. And he'd only been married to his wife for 10 weeks. And we got the dates, and I looked up, there is actually another newspaper that you can only access in the York Library. It's not available online, at least not at the moment. They're always updating newspapers on the archives. So there's 2 newspaper articles about him, plus a coroner's report, and yes, he did exist. And all the other newspapers that came out later, so around 70s, 80s, 90s, of previous landlords that have lived there, they didn't have a name for him. They just said, we know that a man fell from a window, and in this particular room, it feels horrible. And they put bars across the window. Now, obviously, these bars have been moved because there's no bars across the window now. But all the windows, as typical in a hotel room, they only open so far, so nobody can fall out.
That's how you can have a wee
safety.
flight.
Yeah. But it's interesting. It's amazing how stories have changed. And I said to my friend Rachel, I said, well, why has his name never been correct? And the thing is, you have to remember in World War, or World War II even as well, people died every day, all the time. It was nothing new, no matter where it happened. And so it was just another, oh, this happened and it was in the newspaper, just added to the collection, sadly. And so he has been forgotten name-wise, but the claims are that people have been in that room or rooms in the Golden Fleece have seen this airman. And it was an accident. He didn't commit suicide, he just fell out of the window, which is really tragic.
It is tragic. It is tragic. Mary King's very whitewashed, resigned for commercial gain. I used to go down before it was open to public. We store public records down there. But I know what you mean, because I mean the basis of the story is true. You know, there was a gentleman who did fall out a window. You know,
Yeah.
But over the years, you know, it's grew branches and people have maybe made up their own version, or they've heard somebody else say it, and then the tour companies get a hold of it and the tour companies go with that story.
That's it.
You know, and I think what the tour companies forget is, you know, say you went on a tour and they're telling you, know, Joe Bloggs fell 10 stories. You could go home and research that and say, well, I can't find anything to back up what that tour company's telling me. You know, it's like just with Mary King's clothes. I mean, we get told when we first started that during the time of the plague, Mary King's clothes was actually bricked up. So, you know, people were put inside and were bricked up and forgotten about. And a lot of the tour guides go with this story. But that's not actually true. They were actually very well looked after. And there was actually, I can't remember his name, there was actually a doctor used to visit regularly to try and treat them.
Yes, they did say that when I went. There was a doctor who would go and regularly treat everywhere, not just there, but yeah.
You know, but we heard that, you know, or the councils just bricked them up inside and left them, you know, die and rot away and stuff. You find out that that's not true.
Nothing of the sort.
Gain legs over the years. Hey, Kate Dog. That's Kate Frazee. She's from San Francisco. She's San Francisco or Chicago. I keep forgetting. She'll kill me anyway. I know. I'm like you if the same city. I can't remember if it's Chicago. It's one of the two. I know that. But no, I mean, Chicago, I was right the second time.
Chicago Fire.
Oh, I'll remember it was Chicago Fire. I always think it's San Francisco for some reason. I don't know why, you know. But I think that's the problem with tours. Because your tour, as you say, you debunk stuff. You know, which I think people enjoy. That's what people want, because it also shows that, one, you're giving them the true story, basically, and two, it shows them that you're not just out there to make X amount of atmosphere.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you love it and you're very passionate about it, basically. And the fact that you've been going 10 years, that's kind of, you must be doing something right.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of stories in York that sometimes, because there's so many tours and things in York, we are at the mercy of what happens, and sometimes we do have to tell the old stories that I know I've debunked, but they're a good yarn. People like it. They're there for the entertainment as well as the history and everything else. So sometimes I will tell the odd story that I've debunked, but I know I've got to tell it, otherwise I'm going to be short on tales and getting them out of the way of other groups and traffic and building work and goodness knows whatever else that can just appear that you're not prepared for. You know. So, and sometimes come Halloween, you've got to put the classics back in because that's what they've come for. You know, they've come for the fear factor and the fun, as well as, you know, the history and stuff, particularly if you get a lot of children, which we do during Halloween.
You need to spice it up a wee bit.
Yeah. But otherwise, 9 times out of 10, you always get the very truthful stuff. And we'll word it and tell it the way it should. Well, everybody has their own way, but the way I like to tell it, or the boys will tell it in their own way, but it is the truthful way. And we leave it entirely up to the guests whether they believe it or they don't.
That's it. It's a lot like, you know, we're good friends with James Christopher, who runs City of the Dead tours in Edinburgh. And they operate out of Greyfriars. But, you know, you get you get the Harry Potter too. We've been in Greyfriars many a time, and we've heard the tour guys go round, you know, and the hands are going, they're all dressed up and doing their own kind of thing, and they're telling stories, and because we know Jamie tells it as it is. Jamie's been doing it in Greyfriars for 15, 16 years, you know,
wow,
and
yeah.
we'll talk about George Mackenzie. Jamie gives you the right story on it, you know. And so you hear these tour guys telling people, George Mackenzie did this and he did that and he's evil and blah, blah. I think, that's a load of bollocks. You don't want to go up and say it. You want to go up and say to them, but no, I'm not. You want to go up and say to the guy, look, that's a load of crap. He didn't do that. He did this, you know. And Jamie is quite I mean, there's nothing this guy doesn't know about Edinburgh and the vaults and what have you. And Jamie just tells it as it is. You say, people go away happy, and if whether they believe the story or not is, you know, another story. I've got another question for Eileen, but just what you're saying about all the wee different stories. There's one story. We've been to York once. We drove through it actually. We never actually. We were going to. Was it Primrose Valley? We're going to Primrose Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Caravan park. We drove through York. The shooting a Scot. I want to talk to you about this one. We heard this. I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. We heard this story, and we weren't sure if we were getting wound up. Correct me if I've got this wrong, Mackenzie. Right? It's you're not allowed to shoot a Scotsman, right, or woman inside the walls of the city unless it's with a bow and arrow.
So,
is that right?
I'll give it to you how it is. So basically, many moons ago, you and I wouldn't have been friends, you know, because we were, you know, the Scots were fighting the English and William was.
We hated each other and executed each other.
And William didn't make it to York, by the way. Ignore that film; it's not true. Anyway, so the story is, and the bylaw is, and you can look it up online, that yes, there was a bylaw, and if you type in bylaw and then whatever city name, you will get a whole list of bylaws for our country. Whether they've been abolished or not is a different matter entirely, but it's my understanding that they were all abolished a good number of years ago. There might be the odd one that slipped through the net, but basically the bylaw for York was that it was legal to shoot any Scottish man or woman within the walls of this city, but it could only be done by an Englishman on the walls using a bow and arrow or crossbow, and it could not be done on a Sunday because that's a holy day, so they say. But there was a list of emails that I read back in 2012. Now, I don't know if these are still available online or not, but basically somebody wrote into the City of York Council asking if it was true and if anybody's been shot in the last 10 years or however many years. And our council did something really unique. It's very unheard of for our council to do such a thing, but they actually responded. And they responded saying that, you know, it's a bylaw, but yes, nobody's been shot in the last 10 years, thankfully. Then there was rumours going around saying, oh, why are they asking this question? And then they supposedly finally abolished it in 2012 or made it official and said, oh, yes, it's abolished now. You know, it's not legal anymore. But how officially correct that is, I don't know if there's any documentation on it at all. But more certainly it was available in all these emails that you were able to read between the council and this person, supposedly. I don't know why they were even on there. I can't even tell you where they were published. It's that long ago that I looked it up. But that's what I tell you, know, that it was legal until 2012, but it might have been abolished probably in the 1990s, along with all the others that supposedly got abolished. And yes, either way, I can tell you now that if you try and shoot anybody, you're going to get locked up.
Well, I was going to ask you two things, you know, just when you said 2012, that put another question out of my head. So, say it was 2011, right? This law was abolished in 2012. So, say I visited York in 2011, prior to it being abolished. So, somebody could have shot me with a bow and arrow, and it would have been legal. Is that right? It's just a really
No.
strange law.
It wouldn't have been legal. It's these bylaws, you know, that yes, technically a loophole might have been considered legal, but ultimately, sorry, the cat's crying in the background. Sebastian, please be good. He's a Siamese. He's very noisy. Hello. Yes, be quiet. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right.
He just wants another rubber-dub-dub and a treat. He does. Yeah, bylaws are meant to be for a specific area, but ultimately, if you commit murder, you've committed murder. You're not going to get away with it, really, regardless of what the bylaw might have said. The other interesting thing that I learned when I was doing some research is apparently, even though they didn't implement it in those times, a Scottish person could only enter the city through one of the gates, and this was Booth and Bar. And they had to have official documentation explaining why they're there to visit, and they could only visit through Booth and Bar, and that was abolished in the 70s, apparently, even though in the time leading up to the 70s, it wasn't, enforced or anything.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous. But yes, that apparently was a thing as well. Listen, Sebastian, come here. Be quiet. Sorry.
It's fair with catching, but like, it just seems bizarre. See, we heard that, I don't know, for during the time we went to Primrose, it would have been, and you know, we didn't know, is this a wind up or is it no? And then when I was watching you through your videos and you mentioned it,
Yeah.
I'd forgotten
But
all about
honestly,
it until I watched it.
Type in bylaws and the city, any city, and you'll come up with an entire list of stuff, and it'll tell you, you know, that if you really look for it, they'll tell you that they've all been abolished one way or another. Yeah, they're just daft. I mean, there's one in London, something about handling a salmon suspiciously or sand suspiciously. I don't know how you explain that one to me, but it's there.
He's on there alone. We've got a few up here. I mean, seeing it's illegal. Let's see if I've got this right. It's illegal to be drunk in charge of a cow.
Aye.
Is that right?
That's still a law.
Yeah.
That's still a law in Scotland. You're not allowed to be drunk in charge. Now, I don't see many,
You shouldn't be in charge of anything when you're drunk.
Exactly, but
yeah, exactly. That's a perfectly legal one. That one makes sense.
I don't see many cows run. Well, tell that there was a thing on Facebook the other week there, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, there was actually a cow. We're right next to the countryside, and there was actually a cow wandering about the street. Somebody took a photo of a cow outside their house. You think, well, how did it get there? But so you're not allowed to be drunk in charge of a cow. And another one is if you're out and you're busting for the bathroom, you can tap anybody's door and they have to let you in to use it. It's illegal. If they don't let you in, you can phone the police. Can you imagine phoning the police for that? He's not letting me in to use his. Do you know what I mean?
Wow, that's ridiculous because it's their private property. You can't. Yeah. I don't know about that one.
We don't have private land or private property. We've got free to roam law up here.
Yeah.
So we can go into private land or whatever. But the drunken charge of a cow, that was just, who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know.
And you say the one in London about the salmon, but the one where you can't shoot
a Scotsman, or whatever, yeah.
You can't shoot a Scotsman. I just thought that quite bizarre. You start to wonder. What were the origins here? Who thought it up and why?
Well, that one probably was genuine at some point because of, us falling out with them. But that same bylaw, apparently, is in Chester, but it's for the Welsh. But the only difference is, apparently, but I'm not 100% sure, is that the Welsh are allowed in Chester during the day, but come night time, it's fair game.
Mind you, the way this country's gone now, you just...
I know. No, who knows?
Eileen's been drunk in charge of a golf buggy. I think that's illegal.
Different.
You know, I think you'd be done for that. But I'll put Eileen's question up. No, I've got to. Sorry for the wait, though. Is there anything in the train station I strange experience in the tunnels that lead to platforms?
So I haven't. It's difficult to say about an official haunting, but I have heard of shadow figures that appeared and disappeared. The train station is built on top of what was a Roman burial ground, and from the newspapers I have read, there have been one or two suicides. One in particular, somebody shot himself near one of the tracks and stuff. And slightly further away from the train station, there's been people that have sadly died on the tracks and stuff like that. It's not uncommon to have stories of death on the rails in the earlier period before now, whether accidental or suicide. But yes, in the train station we have had some suicides, and it's built on top of a Roman burial ground. Occasionally, well, it's a good few years ago now, but they had to stop work on one of the tracks because they found yet another corpse. Get the officials in and they check it over, make sure it's all okay, and not Sebastian, don't do that, thank you. And they went, oh yes, it's another one of them. You know, the archaeological team come in that are based in York, take it away, and that's it.
But if you think about it, I mean, York dates back to the Roman times, obviously. You think about the amount of bodies that there must be.
Well, we roughly think there's about 500,000 within the walls of the city, and we're talking Romans, Vikings, Anglo-Saxons, all your medieval period. Then, of course, leading up till most certainly up until 1850s, because by the 1850s, our graveyards were full. Fit for bursting. We weren't digging into the ground anymore. We're just chucking soil up on top of them. You know what I mean? And so the mounds, like, you know, you walk past a graveyard in York that still exists, you'll notice that the mud's here, and the tombstones above, and you think, hang on a minute, does that mean the body's like at my eye height? And it is. But yeah, they were overflowing, and so they decided we need to start burying the dead outside the city. Meanwhile, we need to get rid of what we've got in the city, and you can't relocate 500,000 bodies. So a lot of them were either taken away, reburied, or just spread out and filled in the city. And we're always finding something every time the road collapses for some random reason, or they're doing a bit of maintenance work. Oh, there's another one. Quite literally.
See, Greyfriars, that's exactly what Greyfriars is like. The estimate was roughly about 500,000 bodies in Greyfriars. Greyfriars started off, if you get in the Greyfriars, you see it goes down the hill and there's a gate at the bottom. That's the original gate. That's the original level of it. But now it's just one big hill and it's just all bodies. You know, there's plague pits dotted about, but it's just all bodies. And Jamie, he showed us, he's got a tray in his office, bones that he's found just walking about the yard, especially after it's been, got heavy rainfall. Some of the bones tend to come to the surface.
Yeah.
Because they're literally just about a foot underneath. And there's the old story, you don't walk in a grave, but in Greyfriars, no doubt you get places with that in York as well. It doesn't matter where you walk, you're walking on bodies.
Yeah. No, it's the same here in York. You can't fart without walking on somebody, that they're everywhere, but you just don't know. I mean, not last September before, or just near Christmas time, they were putting some bollards at the bottom of the excuse me, I'm going to deal with this cat. But the bottom of come here. You want to be the star of the show, I know. They were putting bollards in at the bottom, top of the shambles for safety and all this carry on, and they had to stop work because in the newspaper it said they'd found bones. And then a few days passed, and one of the people working on that section, the archaeological team, she came on the tour with my tour guide Dan, And he rang me and he says, "Oh, I've just had a very interesting conversation with this lady. She's working on those bones that they found. She seems to think they found half a body." Not the other half, just half of one. You know, and but the thing is, it's all a newish floor, so you just don't know what you're walking on. Obviously, they've dug down quite deep because it was going to be one of these mechanical bollard things that needs to move backwards and forwards. But it's amazing, you know, if you really dig deep enough around the city, you'll find something everywhere.
You just don't know what's under your feet.
No.
Late night connection to Edinburgh was alone, looking for platform footsteps behind me that stopped when I did and seemed to be ahead of me, very loud, and stayed with me until I surfaced.
Oh,
somebody
right,
was
yeah.
following her.
Something was there, yeah.
Just, I want to jump back. We talk about the shooting the Scott thing, but in the same video, you talk about the Devil's Door, the bricked up door.
Oh, yes, yeah. So around the country, you have small doors on the sides of churches. There'll have been back entrances and other things, but at one point they were called a devil's door, so that when we sprinkle the holy water on a babe's head, you know, it's still the belief that the devil's going, oh, we know the evil's going to leave your body because of the original sin. And then the belief was that if they open up the devil's door, the devil could then run north back to Scotland where he belonged.
I was going to say, I was waiting that back coming, you know.
Yep. Send him your way.
I watched that.
Of course, the Scots are devils, the little devils, you know.
I watched that. I thought, where'd they go against Scotland? You know, what did we
it's not just York, it's England in general, that story.
Why don't send them down to London or something out the road? Why send them?
Because it was English. You know, they're all the English. We all send them up to Scotland.
I should send everything up here. The way it's going anyway, we're going to be sending, sending stuff up here anyway. If you know what I mean, Mackenzie.
Head for the hills, yeah.
I think there'll be a few folk heading for the hills. We're going to run out of space, basically, aren't we? You know. Very soon. I'm watching it. I know we've only about 15 minutes left. The Halloween, you mentioned Halloween short time ago, and the Lucy doll. Now, we've done shows before about haunted dolls, haunted objects, and I'm not putting them down. I know there is evidence, you know, that there have been certain dolls, certain objects that have some kind of attachment to them, you know. What's tell us about the Lucy doll?
So that's the ghost story that I put on TikTok, yes? So that one was a bit of fun. So that was an old story that was told in the playground when I was a little girl, and I remembered it all these years. It was one of my favourite ghost stories. But obviously there was a big rise in Annabelle. And I don't know what anybody thinks about Annabelle. I know there was a guy who sadly passed away recently after looking after the Annabelle doll, the original one. But we're never going to know. It could be coincidence and things. But, you know, when it comes to haunted dolls, I've seen dolls that are allegedly haunted. And, you know, I've had hold of them and everything. And I don't know. I think sometimes we can make things in our own mind haunted and stuff. And then other times, yes, there is something trapped in an object. I mean, I used to work at the National Railway Museum in York. And the Railway Museum is very spooky, but it depends on what's in the room at the time. You know, a lot of the carriages carry energy, the railway carriages. And if they move, then that energy goes. Because I used to get an experience when I was younger working there of somebody giving me a good old clout across my posterior. And I'd turn around, there's nobody there. And it happened quite a lot. And I one day plucked up the courage to ask a guide. I says, do you have ghosts or anything around here? He says, why, what's happening? I says, well, I'm embarrassed to say, but I get a right old slap across, you know. He says, oh, do you? He says, right, you see that carriage there? I went, yeah. He says, well, during World War II, it was used as a German brothel.
So whoever it is,
I had a very randy spook who liked me for some reason, yeah. It was a good old proper slap, I'll tell you. But anyway, it made me laugh. But then that moved, and then obviously it stopped, you know. So yeah, it was quite sad. He might have been good looking. Anyway,
I mean, I know her, Laura. She, there's a place up here, Alloway Cut. Laura's sitting right there staring intently at me because she's wondering what I'm going, because she can't hear what's going on, obviously. So I can say what I want. You can say what you want. She can't hear me.
Yeah.
I mean, she can hear me. Alloway Cut is in Ayrshire, and Robert Burns' father and his niece are buried there. There was one investigation we done there with one of the camping chairs, you know, the canvassy camping chairs you get.
Aye. Yeah.
Laura was sitting on it, and she got her posterior, as you put it, grabbed. Was it grabbed or squeezed? I think it was squeezed. And she kind of went, oh, you know. I don't know, was that a surprise or maybe enjoyed it? I don't know. But I sat in the chair for about 3 hours. Nothing happened. I was gutted. Everybody was away home. I was still sitting there at 3 a.m. waiting. Come on, grab it. Touch it. Nothing happens, right? They're going up the road. You know, no, we didn't really sit in it. But, you know, I mean, if the gentlemen were like that in the physical, I dare say they've still got a mischievous side to them.
Well, of course they are. Well, the thing is, I would literally be leaning. So there was a counter at the cafeteria area, and I used to just sort of lean on it. And obviously, if you're leaning, you're kind of on full view a little bit, you know. So somebody's gonna come up and give you a clout. And I always thought, oh, it'd be the blinking security guard. But I turn around, it's a big open space, you know, and it's concrete floor. And I had no disrespect to said security guards at the time, but they were all a bunch of old boys. They aren't running around anytime fast. And nobody was there. And it used to happen every now and again. And we're not talking a tap. You could hear it as well. It was a proper slap. And I used to jolt. I used to go, you know, because it came from nowhere. Didn't hear anybody approaching, anything like that. And, you know, I turn around thinking it's going to be either Simon or Alan or Paul, and none of them are there. So yeah,
something. I'll come back to the Hoddy Dolls. If when something like that happens, you know, I mean, we can make fun of it. You know, you getting slapped in the backside, basically. You know,
yeah.
But it's when something physical happens. You know, I've had my sleeve tugged before. My hoodie, my sleeve get tugged twice. And a cut card that we do, and there was nobody about. There was nobody there, but I felt it getting tugged twice. There's a spirit of old jock in the banshee that touches up ladies. You know, I mean, I've heard quite a few stories that, you know, women get in and getting touched up or face stroked or, you know, or other bits. But that's all I'm going to say. You know, you get the general kind of idea.
But going back to that Lucy doll as well, just to sort of wrap that up, I did that as a nice, well, it's a nice story, but a creepy story, just something entertaining, really, particularly as the Annabelle doll was such a thing. And to be honest, I thought that a lot of people would remember the story from their childhood as well. So, and at the time I was living in my ex's house, and he had a very big, creepy old house. So I got this nice, creepy doll. I thought, yeah, we'll do this.
I don't know about the Annabelle doll. I mean, we've all seen the films and all that, you know, heard the stories and the whole haunted doll scenario. I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
Yeah, I am a bit, to be honest, yeah. But I do believe that something can be there, as I mentioned, with the carriages. So, yeah, it just depends, I suppose.
I do believe, I mean, just quick, there's a place that we did with Spig. It's a team up here that we did quite a lot with. And it's kind of location exclusive to them. It's an old school, and in the school it's got a display cabinet thing, and some of the stuff dates back to the 1800s kind of thing, caps and stuff. And whenever you put a K2 on this, the K2 goes nuts.
Yeah.
But one of the guys, he's worked there for 20 odd years, says there's nothing electrical beside this cabinet in the wall. There's nothing. And so we, you know, put the K2, went nuts. So we took that and we tried another different K2 and it went nuts. But as soon as you take the K2 away from this cabinet, it goes dead. pardon the pun.
Right.
But so it makes you wonder what's making this K2 go. But just last
Yeah,
question on
yeah.
the haunted doll thing. I don't know. We've had it up here. I don't know if you. No doubt. I was on our TikTok a few weeks ago. The haunted Labubus.
The haunted what?
The Labu. It's a kid's cuddly toy thing. They're about that size or
All
something.
right. No, I haven't heard of it. I mean, I've been quite busy with doing other stuff and what have you, so I haven't really been following anything recently. But no, I haven't heard of that.
It's another one of these crazies that come and go kind of thing, and every kid's wanting one for about 2 weeks and then it gets put in a
Yeah,
cupboard.
then it disappears again. Yeah.
Well, there's a Labubu that I don't know what they originate from Europe, I think somewhere. Well, I say Europe, we're in Europe, but you know what I mean. But they're only about 6-8 inches big or something. And
Yeah.
it's just our daughter's got 2 of them, but somebody came up with there's a demon inside them. Even one guy on TikTok was burning his. He filmed him burning his Labubu, and you just think, how far is this crap going to go? You know
Aye, there's certain stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe in the spirit world and stuff like that, but even I'm absolutely certain some of the spirits have stood around going, oh dear.
Well, exactly. Do you think that?
Yeah. Because you have to remember, the dead is us one day. They're just people. They're just ordinary people. I'm waiting. Because I thought this myself a long, long time ago. When did ghosts start? And I thought, well, before us, there was the dinosaurs. Why is there no ghost dinosaurs?
I've heard that question many a time.
I thought to myself, actually, there might be one, and it's called Loch Ness. That's why you can never find him. He's a ghost.
I've heard that question. Why do you never get a ghost a dinosaur? Carol East Drive is now selling East Drive. I don't know. I'm 50-50.
Oh, of course it is.
East
Yeah,
Drive.
I know the one East Drive. Yeah.
I've spoken to people that have done it. She's been very active, but then the other flip side of the coin, that says nothing. I think it's a place you need to go to and maybe experience yourself.
Yeah.
I think you can watch 101 documentaries on it or whatever. But I think you really need to
and
go.
you know what? It's like I said about the Golden Fleece. If you go and nothing happens, then for you, it's not haunted. And maybe it is subtle. Maybe there is something to it. And you have to remember, some stories really do get embellished. I mean, look at Amityville Horror. That is just a story, as far as I'm concerned. The guy killing his family, it was off his face on drugs. There's a big documentary about it. And I think the family who wrote this thing said that it was, a story in the end, or it came to light, was just a story. People have lived in that house and never batted an eyelid, but it obviously is a great story. It was embellished. It was made into the Hollywood horror movies and things, like a lot of stuff is, and it's all based on something. But like a lot of things, it's a hoax, sadly. But it takes away the reality of what could be, and spooky stuff. And I think that's why I really like Uncanny. There's a podcast by Danny Robbins.
I've watched that a few times. I've watched a few of them. I like them.
Yeah. He does podcast and he does the BBC iPlayer show. And it's very good. Even though there's sometimes where I've watched them or listened to it and gone, I think you've been conned there, Danny. I think that one's a bit, But there is some very seemingly genuine stories there, and I've heard similar stories, and he hit the nail on the head. I think paranormal stuff happens a lot to people, but people don't talk about it because they don't want to get laughed at. They don't want to be discredited. I mean, even apart from when I do my lives and stuff now, when I was younger, I used to talk about spiritual stuff all the time, but I found I was just getting ridiculed, and so I don't talk about it unless it's to someone that I know, or it's to do with the tour, because you do get ridiculed, and when I thought about it after listening to Danny's podcast, I thought, actually, and I wrote it down, all the things that I've had happen to me throughout my life. I've had loads of stuff happen, but I've forgotten most of it because it's just it's just happened and you forget about it, you know, eventually.
It's no been.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
things
And I bet there's
been-
loads of stuff that's happened to people, but they have forgotten or pushed it out of their mind, or they just went, oh, well, it's probably because of this. And yes, there is a rational explanation for a lot of things. But there's sometimes we just have to sit and go, well, you know what, maybe not. But the thing is as much as we are nervous of it, again, you have to remember that whatever it is and isn't, it is people that have been here before, or it is energy left over by people that have been here before. And
Mhm.
they're not going to come out and kill you and hurt you and all that stuff. As for demons and things, demons are a creation of man. And not discrediting religion. I am not religious, but I'm spiritual, and I do believe there's something. I used to be quite Christian, but then I sort of fell out with it and didn't really go for it anymore because it didn't work for me. But religion is created by man and has been changed over the years to suit man. So and all these other stories came about as stories, you know, written in stone and beliefs, and it's all part of our belief system. And I'm not saying 100% that there's no such thing as this stuff, regardless of religion or demons or anything, but a lot of it has been embellished, and you've got to be careful.
You need to test it. But there's Liam in for Highland Paranormal. They're based in Inverness. You get them on Friday. Nessie, they just right to the top of Loch Ness.
Is
Nessie is
alive and well.
and well.
I'd love to see Nessie. I'm not going to lie to you. If I ever get to Loch Ness, I do want to see Nessie.
Nessie's a popular one. But no, I know you. I'm glad you said that, Mackenzie, because, you know, I've said that quite a few shows, but people have. I've had people come to me, you know, over the years saying, well, the paranoid's all the crap, you know, once you're dead, you're dead. And I've said to them, well, have you ever had something happen to you, or seen, heard, smelled, whatever, that you just can't explain? And
Yeah.
they would say, but I totally agree with you. A lot of people are weary of coming forward and saying, well, you know, I seen a ghost in my bedroom last night, because 90% of their mind's telling them, well, people are just going to laugh at me. They're going to make fun of me.
That's it. Yeah,
And it's going to keep going and going. But it's amazing. I know that you've met them as well. It's amazing the amount of people that we've met that aren't in a group or a team or anything like that. They're just everyday people. And as soon as you tell them what you do, oh, right, I'm right into that. You know, something happened to me, but I never ever talk about
it. Yeah.
As Alan says, once you get folk talking, it all comes out. It does, you know, it's. And you meet some people in the street. We know the housing officer, you know, there's a coincidental conversation I was having with him and mentioned the parrot, and he's, oh, I'm right into that. You know, this happened to my wife, but we never ever speak about it. See, well,
I'll tell you who are really into the paranormal, and these are people of science and stuff, doctors and nurses and surgeons. Not all of them, but the amount of people who have come on tour who are part of the NHS, and they go, oh, you know, and they tell you all this stuff. And yeah, there's some of them who do absolute believers. They see things all the time. They you know, they've had experiences in the hospitals, or something happens just before somebody's passed away. And yeah, it's amazing how many of these people go, well, we shouldn't believe in this because, you know, once your clock has stopped and that's it, you're dead. But the stuff that happens, we just can't explain.
you can't explain. Just a quick story. You have me a question to ask you, but just when you're talking about doctors and nurses, before we wind up, I heard this. I can't remember who told me it, but it was a doctor in a hospital, and he was, you know, he was working, and there was I don't know, I think they got a code blue in America, whatever. Somebody taking a heart attack, and he was on his way to try and fix him, basically. And he gets stopped by a man in the corridor, and the man saying, "Can you tell me where the exit is? How to?" And the doctor showed the boy you down there, you know, he's directed him to the exit. And then he went to the patient's room. And when he got into the patient's room, the guy lying on the bed was the guy that asked him for directions.
Good grief. Huh. Yeah.
And
yeah.
my doctor is on my page. And this was a consultant, it was at the top of his game kind of thing. So he'd nothing. And he walked in and the guy was lying in the bed was the guy that asked him for directions. Just you're saying with doctors and nurses and time, time of their death and people's death. Well, if you want me a question, then we'll wind it up. So you've got York, you've got Edinburgh, you've got London, right? There's plenty of other cities, but what would you say, in your opinion, is the most, I don't want to say haunted, is the most active? Three of them, I mean, I could mention Glasgow, but Glasgow's got a certain amount of history, but Edinburgh, York and London seem to...
Well, there was an awful lot that happened in... London was your kings, your queens, your parliaments, your wars, your battles, and it was in the north, which is the York, everybody is kind of the middle ground. Then obviously there's Scotland. Sorry, the cat's just being bad. He's decided that it's just going to be really naughty for the last bit, aren't you, Sebastian? He's flipping his ball and everything. Yes, he's having a scream. No, so... You love them, don't you?
It's usually kids.
It's got a good set of lungs. Yes, it's a cat. Sebastian, shush. Anyway, I honestly couldn't tell you what's the most haunted and active because the planet is several billion years old. Who can measure it, really? It goes back further than our known history, and that's anywhere. Lincoln has a ghost walk and it's very spooky there. There's villages that are haunted. There's meant to be the most haunted village in England, and I can't remember the name of it now. Is it Putney or something daft like that? I
know the one you mean. We covered it a few years back.
I've never been to it, and I couldn't tell you whether it is or it isn't. But I think it's measured by the amount of ghost stories, and that's it. So because we've Pluckley, thank you. I couldn't remember. I have written this because I was writing a book, but it's come to a standstill at the minute for a lot of reasons. It'll either be a podcast or a book one day, but at the moment I'm busy with other things now. Just behave yourself, Cass. So. It is very hard to measure something, but I think it's because it has so many stories and so many things that are nasty that have happened in, say, Edinburgh, London, and York. And so it's inevitable that we're going to start having these claims of being the most haunted city and stuff like that. But ultimately, who knows? These are touristy places, so they're going to maybe get a little bit embellished, maybe, I don't know. There's lots of ghosts everywhere. Sheffield has a host of ghost stories, as does Chester, County Durham. So, which is the most haunted? I couldn't tell you.
No, that's fair enough. I just wanted your opinion. Very, very quickly. That it kind of annoys me sometimes. I don't know about you, Mackenzie, when people say this is the most haunted pub in the UK.
Yeah.
And they're
all the most haunted pub in the UK. The Golden Fleece is haunted, but so is so many other pubs in York. Exactly. But that one, yeah. But obviously, that's its title, so that's what we call it. For me, the Black Swan Inn in York is very, very spooky and haunted. There's a lot of pubs that have got things going on, but there's lots of buildings full stop that have things going on. It's just whether anybody's been lucky enough to see anything or have anything happen and come forward and talk about it.
Right time, right place.
You know what I mean? Yeah, basically. Yeah.
But we'll wind it up there. I did promise you an hour. So that's 4 minutes over. That is not too bad. But hold on.
It's all right. Don't worry. It's fine.
But that's fine. No, it does. When people say this is the most haunted hill in Britain, the most haunted whatever, you think, well, how do you know? Have you been on every...
Oh, yeah. And then you walk down it and you're really disappointed.
Well, see, that's the thing with Greyfriars. Greyfriars is reported to be the most haunted kirkyard in the world, not in Europe, but in the world. Now, Eileen will back me up here, Liam as well. We've been in Greyfriars, I don't know, we're at triple figures basically. And there's nothing scary about it. The Covenanters prison is a different kettle of fish. That's a whole different story. The Kirkyard itself, when you walk in, you do get a feeling of being what everybody says that, but it's no a bad feel. It's no negative. It's like you ever walked into a room.
I went there once and I didn't feel anything major at all. It was just a nice, spooky-looking graveyard, and then you got little Greyfriars, Bobby and stuff. Yeah.
That's very nice to see.
Nice to
Thanks,
meet you,
Eileen.
Eileen.
Liam totally agrees.
I'm Liam too.
Cheers, bud. But as you walk in and you just feel like there's somebody watching you, individuals watching you, but it's more of a curiosity, I would say, than anything, And the other thing that amazes me about Greyfriars is it's right on one of the main routes in and out of Edinburgh. As soon as you walk through the gates, it's like you're stepped back in time.
Yeah.
I no doubt you've got places like that in York as well. It's like, it's just total silence, even though you're only like 5 minutes from the city centre and you can see the castle and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just total. I was going to say totally dead. That's the wrong word. But
no, but you're right.
It is, but you walk in and it's just a very, very peaceful feeling. You feel like there is people around you watching you, but that's all they're just watching. But these cabbages that go in and say, "Oh, we met the Mackenzie poltergeist and they scratched me and they punched him and she fainted," and you think, bollocks. No, you never. Say the Covenanters prison. We've been in there quite a lot of times, and there is a different atmosphere. But then you need to ask yourself a question: is it because we know the history? So does that put a thought up here before you even walk in? But you do feel a shift in the atmosphere.
Go on. I was going to say I'm going to actually stay in a couple of weeks' time, or no, this weekend coming, I think. I can't remember. Very soon I'm going to be staying at the Malmason Hotel in Oxford, which is a prison. So you stay in the prison cell? I'm intrigued. I'm thinking, I wonder if I'll encounter anything spooky then. So I'm looking forward to that. And I have no doubt I'll do a video or a picture about it on the page at some point.
I'll be keeping an eye out for that one. I'd love to do that. We don't have anything like that. I usually get a few prisons down there. We used to be able to investigate Inverary jail, but they stopped investigations there maybe a couple of months ago. I think it's still a tourist attraction. You're just not allowed to investigate. But we really don't. This is why I'm jealous of America. I talk to a lot of people on the other side of the pond, and they've got the big old prisons and stuff like that. The kind of place.
Yeah.
You want locked in yourself at night, all night. Just with a torch and just go wandering. I'd love something like that. Do you know what I mean? But
that's it. Just to be let loose.
I just give me a torch and I'll wander. I'm a happy man. I'll wander anywhere.
Yeah.
As long as there's blood and guts involved, I'm not caring.
Well, I'll tell you what you might like. I went to Shepton Mallet prison a year or two ago. That was fun to listen to the ghost stories and bits and pieces there, and that had a bit of an atmosphere in a couple of places. Like,
no, there's only one time. I know I said I was winding up. I do this a lot, by the way, Mackenzie. I say I'm winding up, then carries on to something else. I mean, you get all these people say, "Oh, it was dead negative in there. It was evil in there, bollocks." That's what I say. There's only one time we did. Canongate Kirk in Edinburgh is at the bottom end of the mile. We were in there one night. We were going to Greyfriars. We were doing a 3 o'clock investigation in Grey before we found out about the ban. But we arrived in Edinburgh early, so we thought, right, we could take it. So we went into Canongate, and the secretary of Mary Queen of Scots is John Riddle. So Sarah's the Mary Queen of Scots expert. He's said to be buried in there. There's a gravestone and stuff there. But we walked in, and Sarah says she sees a shadow. So her and the rest of them, they hiked it back to the car. But we just get this feeling. Now, it wasn't demonic, it wasn't evil. I want to say that up front.
No.
We weren't wanted. David, what did I say? John Riddle. That's Harry Potter, isn't it? John Riddle's John Riddle, no Harry Potter. David Rizzo.
Tom Riddle's Harry Potter.
I was weird with that one. Sorry. He's said to be buried in there. But it was just this overwhelming feeling that we weren't wanted. You know, and that's the only time in the 5 years we've been doing that. That's ever happened, you know. So it's when you hear people saying, "Oh, I walked into Greyfriars and I was dead negative and I could feel just pure evil staring at me." And, that ball was like, you're talking crap, you know. Have you ever had an experience where you walked in and you felt totally unwanted? I don't mean the physical.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. I have actually had it happen a couple of times in certain buildings, not in York, funny enough. Well, yeah, maybe one or two in York, but I can't quite pinpoint. But I have walked into some places and gone, I don't like this, but I don't know why. And I feel better when somebody's there. I'm just trying to remember, just before we got on a tangent there about where it was that I've been to, and I thought this is not nice. Oh gosh, oh yes. So literally going down the mile in Edinburgh. Before I knew its history or anything, I kind of went to Edinburgh a bit cold, really, and just booked things when I got there or just before I got there, and I always felt really heavy and depressed. It's a beautiful street and Edinburgh's beautiful, but there was something about that mile that just made me feel horrible and oppressed and everything. And then I learned about, all the trials and things that went on. And there's a documentary by Lucy Worsley about witchcraft in Edinburgh or Scotland and how this poor woman was brutalized, in so many ways before she was executed down there. And I'm not saying I picked up on her, but it's just all these other things that have happened. And I think, yeah, that's horrible. And yet on the other side of the coin in York, there is the Knavesmire where executions took place. We've had hangings, hanging, drawing, quartering, burnings, everything happen on that Knavesmire.
The good stuff.
And today, nothing happens. You walk down it, it's fine. There's no horrible atmosphere. People walk their dogs down there all the time. My friend does. Just nothing. You wouldn't even know that anything had happened there if it weren't for the fact that there's a sign saying this is where executions took place.
It's weird.
Strange. And you think that would be quite an active area.
Yeah, it's quite heavy in the Grassmarket. Grassmarket was an area for executions as well. But it's weird you say that, Mackenzie. I mean, I think I locate that. I mean, as I say, that night Canongate, I'm quite a laid-back guy. Nothing. It takes a lot to really upset me. But when the girls and I went back to Cat, I went for a wander in Canongate, and I came back out. When I came back out, I was absolutely raging. I was furious for no reason at all. Nothing had happened.
Yeah.
I hadn't met anybody. Nobody had stole my tea cakes or anything,
Yeah.
And but I was absolutely fizzing. But we get in the car and we drove up towards Greyfriars and the feeling just disappeared. And just another quick one. I mean, there's John Knox's house is on the mile, as you know. There's an alleyway next to it, and we investigated it, and we think we picked up on a woman, maybe in her 20s, but there was this feeling of shame and sadness. Now, this is just an alleyway that goes from the mile down towards Princess Street area. And it was just this solitary female kind of standing there. That's what we were sort of getting.
Yeah.
No, we're no psychic or anything, but sometimes you get that feeling that somebody's standing there. And it was quite weird. But as you say, you get places where people have been butchered, basically,
Yeah.
There's nothing. Whereas you get like that close, you get this feeling of sadness. Who the lady was, we don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm not a psychic in the sense that I can sit here and talk to the dead and tell you exactly what they're thinking and feeling, but I'm very sensitive and strange things have happened. I mean, I've even had things happen here, and I've told the story a few times in lives about how I encountered a boy who was accidentally hanged nearby here. But I didn't know that at the time. I only found that out in a newspaper. But before I found it out, I just thought there's somebody haunting me in this really modern looking house. But why? It turns out my house is built on former classrooms and stuff. I didn't know any of that before. And then yet I picked up on this person. So that's why I believe in it. And yes, there is things out there, but how you pick up on it, why it's there for you but for nobody else, honestly, I can't explain it. It's a strange one.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, we done an investigation. Laura and I done an investigation about 3-4 weeks ago in the house with another team, Forth Valley, and as an old derelict. But this building was massive, but you know, it's a totally abandoned. It's just all walls and stuff. But there was 4 days there, and I heard this woman laugh. It only lasted a couple of seconds, but it was like a kind of, and
Yeah.
it was behind me.
Right.
And I turned round, but there was nobody there. And I says to
Yeah.
them, none of them heard it, and they were beside me. I said, did you not hear that woman? But
Yeah.
I know what I heard. You know, it was the fox around.
Yeah.
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 And you think, well, why did I hear it and you still?
Yeah, and nobody else heard it. Yeah.
Was I singled out, or am I the best looking among you, or something like that? You know, I don't know. I'll look into that one. But it makes you wonder why we maybe hear or see things at the people beside you, and they don't hear nothing. It's happened a couple of times to me, but I picked up. I say I'm no psychic, never claimed to be, but there have been a couple of investigations where I've been out, and I felt as if there was somebody standing behind me or beside me. It happened in the vaults. It happened in the Edinburgh vault.
I've had it a lot, to the point where I ignore it now.
Why, you just go on with it, you know?
Yeah, just get on with it.
you say you just say hello to them.
Yeah.
Instead of this, you know, is there anybody there? You know.
Oh, aye. Yeah. And the daft part is I've come to realise now in times gone by, when you're reading old documents or books or anything, you have to remember, when you're doing a Ouija board, for example, who's to say they can spell? And even if they can, it's not going to be spelt the way that we write it. If you look at a book that's from 300, 400 years ago, the spelling's different, the pronunciation's different, the language is different. Do they even understand you? Other than that, they've probably learned it. You know, if they've been here all this time and listened to people talking. Merlin, stop it. Frightening the life out of me. He's moving stuff about. He's trying to get my attention. I'm sorry. They're both being chaotic. Something was moving behind me. I made me jump, and it's him. Stop it. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, is it a ghost or is it a cat? But anyway.
9 times out of 10 it's a cat.
But when you got the Ouija boards and things like that, asking them yes/no questions, well, do they understand you? Can they read and write? You know, and I think you should go more with what you feel rather than hearing or reading or whatever's happening. You should go with your emotions, because your own intuition will tell you a story. And the best way I can explain that is if you walk into a room and you can tell somebody's having an argument, or you can tell somebody fancies somebody. It's body language, but also an atmosphere. It's the only way I can explain it. An energy. You can feel that, and that is your best bet to use when you go on a ghost hunt. What do you feel? What do
That's
you?
It. I've told people that before. People say, we're just starting out, you know, I'm going to do my first investigation. What's the best thing to use? And I just say to them, look, just go and be yourself and see what happens.
Yeah.
And
the amount of times I've been in a ghost hunt, and eventually I've actually stood there and gone, I'm sorry about this lot. And I can feel them all stood around me going, yeah, we're used to it.
I think because as you said earlier on, Mackenzie, you know, no doubt spirits sometimes, they must stand there and look at us and think,
Scratching their head
what
and think
the
we're
hell?
nuts.
You guys, you're like a monkey with a balloon, and you came to talk to me. I'm,
Yeah.
I've got better things to do with eternity than how about listen to you. But I did say around 20 minutes. We'll wind it up there, but I'll keep a hold of you just after we come off for a wee second or two.
Aye.
So where can people find you?
So if you want to book onto a tour, you'll either get myself, Josh, or Dan, and it's called Shadows of York. So you can look us up online. Our website, just type in Shadows of York and we'll come up. If you want to find us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, we're on there. On the TikToks, I do post little historical videos or some silly ones. I like to wind up the other guides in York just for a laugh. So so they're on there as well. And we're all friendly with each other. Really, we're all one big happy family, even though we're competition. And then
it's friendly competition.
It is, yeah. But we're on Instagram. I'll post the odd picture and things like that on there. Occasionally, I'll come on live and tell you a little bit about what I found out or something on Facebook. But yes, if you do want to come on a tour, just look up Shadows of York and then book us via that way. We operate every day except for Sunday and Tuesday, except for like the last week of Halloween, October, the peak times, or sometimes during school holidays as well. Or New Year's Eve, we might do 1 or 2 extra tours. And they all start at 6:30 or sometimes 6:30 and 8:30 during busy periods. And we also do private tours, which can start at most times, but I won't do really late ones because I've got to go to work the next day. But also there's residential areas and I'm not taking a group round at 10, 11, 12 at night to disturb the residents. We'll just get in trouble. So a sensible time. But yeah, private tours, you can virtually do what you want to a degree. Just either let us tell you the stories, or if you have something specific that you want to learn about, you can ask us and things. And but yeah, I know quite a lot about York, and if I don't know it, I can go and find out about it for you on a private tour.
There you go. So give it. They don't operate on a Sunday because they're out shooting Scotsmen with arrows. I had to get that bit back in, though. Sorry,
You did. Listen, my mum's side, it's all Scottish.
Oh, well, there you go then. It's amazing the amount of people. I mean, we've done over 500 of these now, and it's amazing the amount of people from all different sides of the pond, and they've all got some kind of Scottish tie. Whether it's a mum, grandparent, great grandparent, somebody.
Yeah.
And they say, oh,
or
my
Irish.
great
There's a lot of Irish, yeah.
Irish as well, I never hear anybody saying English, mind you, but however, it's not Scottish. It's all when you send all the devils and all that and then brick up doors and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But give him a wee look up. See, I'm hoping that you come back. I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you going to come back?
Yeah, I can come back, absolutely. Why not?
You've got to say yes because we're still live, you see. So, you might
no, I'm not going to come back, Scott. That's it now. I've had enough.
Aye. I'm off, love. I've had enough. I can't do a Yorkshire accent. Sorry. Can try it. I'm off now, love. I've had enough. No.
That's not too bad.
Is that not too bad, lads? No,
it's all right, aye.
Aye. That'll pass for now with love, bread, cup of tea. No. Or coffee. Whatever prick you go on tonight. So we'll wind up there, folks. So a big thanks to this young lady, Mackenzie. You will be seen again, but Shadows of York, a look up. And if you're doing that way, book a wee tour with them. Just stay away from bows and arrows. Sorry, I had to mention that again because it's just bizarre. And we'll be back on Friday night. We have the Pool House coming in with Liam, Highland Paranormal. They'll be on Friday night. We'll talk about the Pool House up in, I can't pronounce, even though I'm Scottish, I can't pronounce it. That's bad, isn't it? I apologise. Well, no, see, I'm not saying rewind. See, I do this a lot. I'll tell you a quick story, right? People think that all Scottish people can understand Scottish people. That's not true. I'm from Glasgow, right? And I used to deliver up to Aberdeen, which is about 3 hours north of Glasgow, right? And there was an old warehouseman. I used to go up there every Wednesday. And I delivered to this company, and the warehouse guy, he must have been, I don't know, late 60s something. He was a brilliant guy. You know, he was harmless. But I couldn't understand a word they said. Not what. I mean, I delivered there for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Every week. And I remember one week, the shutter door went up, and it was this young guy that was there. And I said, oh, where's I think Bob or something, whatever his name was. He says, he's on holiday. I was like, and so I says to this young guy, I can't understand a word he says. He says, listen, mate, we've been working with him here for years, and we can't understand him as well.
When I was in hospital years ago, I had scoliosis and I had a lot of the surgery and stuff. This was when I was a kid. My mum lost her accent now, but she still had a Scottish accent at the time. And one of the student-type doctors who was doing my surgery was a chap called Dr. Dunsmuir, who came from Glasgow. And he wanted to take all my records back up so I could teach the surgery up there. And he listened to my mum chatting away. And one time he just said, I'm really sorry, I don't understand you. And she came from the borders.
Oh, totally. I mean, I've got a mate, he stays in London now. We grew up together in Glasgow, and we were like brothers, you know. And he moved to London when he was about 18, 19. He works with the BBC, and I hadn't seen him for years and years. And I bumped into his mum one day, just quick story again. And I says, you know, how's Brian doing? She says, oh, he's doing good. He's coming up here next week. So I gave him my phone number. I think this was in the days before video calling. So, you know, if he texts me and I gave him my address, he says, I'll come and see. So he came to see me at my house. Now, this guy grew up about 3-4 doors away from me in Pollock, one of the roughest areas in Glasgow. And it must have been a good 15, 16 years or something. So I opened the door and it was Brian. I bought a whiskey in a hand, a case of beer. I see as soon as he opened his mouth, I was like, WTF. You know what that means?
Yes.
Posh London accent. And I'm like, what the happened to you?
Yeah.
And we went out the next night, and he done well for himself. And we went into a nightclub I used to go all the time in Glasgow. So we were going to Bonkers, it was called. So we were going to Bonkers. So we went to the Dome and so that, right, you're not getting in. To my mate, and he's, oh, why? Why am I not getting in? He says, because you're wearing trainers. You know, these aren't trainers, these are alligator shoes or some fancy shoe.
Yeah.
And he's standing there. It's a Friday night, about 10 o'clock in the middle of Glasgow at a nightclub. And he's arguing in this posh. And I'm like, Brian, we'll go somewhere else. Just leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not leaving this. This is preposterous. I was like, we ended up going elsewhere. So the following week I went back, because it was my sort of regular haunt. And the doorman was in, and he's like, come here, you. I was like, what? He says, who was that plum you had? Like, he didn't say plum, he said something else.
Yeah.
Who was that plum you had last week? I said, oh, that's a guy I grew up with. He said, what the, you know. But I went to visit him a few weeks later. He says, come down to London, visit.
Yeah.
I went down to London, I met his girlfriend, Julie, really nice woman. I go there on the Monday night, Mackenzie, and we went out on the Monday night, Julie was there, and talking away, and then the Tuesday night we were in a pub, and I'd noticed, I don't know how I didn't pick up on it the night before, but I picked up on it on the Tuesday, she just kept agreeing with me, everything I said. So Brian was at the bar, so I went up and I says, listen, is Julie okay? He said, oh, what do you mean? He said, well, she keeps just agreeing with me. He says, well, she's not understood a single word you said since you arrived yesterday. And she's too embarrassed to tell you. So I says, listen, Julie doll, if you don't understand me, just tell me. Tell me it's. But the poor woman had been sitting there for over a day and a half.
Yeah, just going,
I could have been calling her anything. I could have been saying anything to her. I could have been saying, you're a balloon, you're a monkey. Aye,
yeah. Do you know, there was a time I moved down to Somerset, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to go to the pub. Left the boyfriend at home. I can't bother with that. I'm going out. You don't want to drink? That's fine. I will. I went to the pub. Introduced myself. I'm not afraid to go out by myself. I'll talk to anyone if I want. I said to the landlady, I went, hello, I'm new to the area. My name's Mackenzie. And she looked at me a little bit blankly, and because she had a proper Somerset accent. And then she kind of grasped what I was saying. She went, oh, well, can sit over there with this lot if you like. I went, okay. And, I went over, and it turns out one or two of them were from Yorkshire. So I understood them fine. But everybody else, because there's a working area community, there's a power plant nearby, so everybody's come from everywhere. There was a range from people from Cornwall, Wales, Yorkshire, one or two. But all the rest were, from southwest and just had the really strong accent. And I sat there going, because I'm like, I have no idea what you are saying. I got to know it eventually. But initially, I thought, right, okay, yeah, this is going to go well. And then we all made friends, very good friends. But when they were trying to be nice, they gave me a pound to put in the jukebox, and they said to me, right, go put some music on. I can't do the accent very well, but we don't like no rock music, we don't like no boom boom music, and you're allowed one wacky song. All right then. So I thought to myself, well, that's ruined me because I like Alice Cooper and Lady Gaga and all. You know what? I'll find something. Put a bit of Beatles on, a bit of this, bit of that, bit of the other. And then for my wacky song, I knew what they were thinking. They were thinking something like ABBA. But as it turned out, this jukebox was one that was identical to the one that I used to play with back where I, and it has thousands of songs on it. And it turned out they had Bohemian Rhapsody done by the Muppets on it.
Right.
So I put that on as my final song. Went back to sit down with them, trying to understand all that they're saying. And eventually, they'd acknowledged what was on and they went, oh, these are pretty good. Then the final song came on and I could see them all going, what's that? I said, it's my wacky song. They said, what is it? I said, oh, it's Bohemian Rhapsody by the Muppets. So you got Miss Piggy screaming and Animal, whatever, do whatever they do.
I've
never heard that. Right, what is this? Anyway, they didn't understand then, they didn't understand me, but the following night they gave me another quid and said, you're allowed one wacky song, but not the Muppets, and I put the Wombles on instead.
Oh, I remember the Wombles.
I kept on going and going and going. Every night I found something weird and wonderful, and they just remembered me as this northern lass with a terrible music taste. But eventually we did get to understand each other.
But it's amazing, it's the different how you can understand people. Just very, very quickly, and then we will wind up. I just realised we're still live.
I know.
I used to have a mate, met him in holiday. Stayed in Wales, Quinbran. He stayed in Wales, just outside Cardiff. And so I went to be doing the visit one time. This is years ago. And it was a heat wave. And so he was a rugby, as most Welshmen are, I suppose. And he took me to the rugby social club one night. So he took me in there and he said, this is Scott from Glasgow, blah, blah, blah. And so people were coming up to me all night and I was just sitting down and people coming up and they didn't want to talk to me, Mackenzie. They wanted me to swear at them.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
So bizarre. When you come and say, hi, boy, I'm Brian. Can you call me a bastard? What? Call me a... So you're a bastard. Oh, great boy. Well, thanks very much. And so I'm Gwyn. Can you call me up? And I said, he says, I want to hear you swear in your Glasgow act. So we need to wants to talk to. I'm having a conversation all night. I just swore at people. Don't get me, they were all a great bunch. I've been back a couple of times.
Yeah, but they're fascinated by the accent, aren't they? I mean, there's some people that listen to me on the lives and they're like, "I love your accent," and sometimes I think I sound really annoying, to be
I
honest
hate
with
my
you.
voice.
But there we go.
I've always hated I can't see listening back to I hated, but no, I mean, that was, back to Robert's and his wife, how was it? It was bizarre. So I never spoke to anybody all night except to swear at them. And I'm going, call me up. You're a bastard. Oh, cheers, mate. I'm away.
Yeah.
I said somebody,
Yeah.
is that you? They're all kind of lined up. I just charged them a tenner a time.
Charged them. You should have got here. A quid a swear.
Quid a time, come on. Would you like me called?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's one of these things in life that, you keep, it sticks in your head no matter how many years pass. And you always still have a wee laugh and a wee chortle. But we will wind it up there, folks, because that's over an hour and a half we've been on. And and we will bring this lady back. So we'll call it a night. So a big thanks to Mackenzie for coming along and listening to me dribble on. And a big thanks to everybody for watching. And go and look up Shadows of York Tours. All right, folks. Cheers and out. See you Friday.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.